Hello, friends. Welcome. I'm Wes, and this is the next installment of my Hobby Hangout series. I'll be here every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be working on uh, any one of a number of hobbies. Usually it's miniature painting, sometimes, terrain stuff, building and crafting and hobbying of all kinds. I am, after all, a serial hobbyist, so there's a million and one things I enjoy doing, and I'll be tackling a few of them here, there, and everywhere as we go along. Um, Tonight, I've got a few projects lined up. Continued work on a unit of, uh, see here, unit of skeleton knights um, for my Legions of Nagash army in Age of Sigmar, Warhammer. Um, Aside from that, I've got a bunch of terrain lined up, and so we'll see what we manage to get to tonight. I think that's we're going to kind of take it easy, take it slow, have some fun, and there you go. Uh, hey, Sarah, how's it going? You have yourself a good night. Thanks for stopping in to say hi. Um, yeah, so that's the plan for the night. So we're going to be working on a little bit of that. It's been a long day. Got myself a nice coffee and a another can of this wonderful Ravenous Brewing Company coffee milk stout to keep me going. So yeah, I guess with that being said, we'll get down to business. Um, so yeah, so like I said, I'm going to be working on continued work on these knights, the skeletal knights for my undead army. Um, and I've been slowly trying to layer up the, I don't know how well this is visible here, but slowly trying to layer up the purple on the robes, get that all sort of situated. But I've got four more on the table to get through, and then I've got little another five that the models need to be cleaned up and mold lines scraped and stuff like that. So, I'll probably be working on a whole mix of that throughout the course of the evening, and a little bit of other stuff. Well, good evening to you, Ashley. How are you today? I see Scotty's joined us as well. Hello, Scotty. Scotty boy. Scotty, I think that name might not be appropriate for you anymore. I think you might be Scotty Man now. I know it's been a few years, but. Alright, so let's see. We need a little bit of purple on the palette. Give it a little shake. So, I hope everybody had themselves a good week this week. Not going too crazy with the isolation and whatnot. Yeah, you like the Frankenstein bride portrait, huh? I have. He's a little bit off camera, but right here you can actually see the edge of the frame. It's the exact same style, black and white, just big blown up Frankenstein, or I guess Frankenstein's monster, if you want to get real particular with your monsters. But they're actually those are my wife's posters, and I think at one point, well, we at least toyed around with the idea of hanging them over our respective sides of the bed. Um, I don't think that ever actually I don't think that ever actually happened, but it was a good plan for a while at least. Ooh, I see Dave Harris and Ryan in the chat. What's up, guys? Alrighty. So yeah, we gotta get some of this purple going. It's gonna be a long night of painting purple, I have a sneaking suspicion. So buckle in for that, guys. But yeah, so I hope everyone had a pretty decent week. I can't super complain about mine. It was a pretty decent week all told. Um, work's been a little on the slow side lately, so even though I'm still going in and still working, it's the hours are getting shorter and shorter, and a full day's work is getting harder and harder to come by. So um, it's not without its frustrations, I suppose. But realistically, I'm still kind of grateful I'm going in and still have to go to work every day, I guess. But I definitely there's a big part of me that wishes I had the opportunity to um, stay home as well. My wife being one that is not working at the moment. And I know she could use a hand with our daughter every so often, and it would be nice if I could be around a little bit more to help out. But I do enjoy our weekends because I actually, she usually used to work on the weekends, so we actually get to spend some time together as a family, which is nice. For instance, tomorrow, the game plan is that we are going on a nice family hike. Not a super long one because our daughter's like 1.5, so she's not really going to tolerate going on a super long hike. But we figure we'll probably strap her into a carrier or something along those lines until we get to where we're going. And apparently, there's a nice view of a waterfall or something like that wherever we're going. So I don't know the exact locale, but we've got my wife has it sort of in the map and ready to go um, for tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. That sounds pretty nice, actually, Scotty. That floor pay there. My work is actively trying to get rid of people. they're they're not interested in paying us anything. But yeah, it's been pretty good. By the way, for those of you that are hanging out in the chat there, how does the audio sound today, and how's the video as compared to like the last couple of these? I do have a new. I'm on a new camera right now. My wife and I just bought a like really good vlogging camera, and this is not it. The vlogging camera is proving to be a challenge. We thought that it would be a fairly simple plug and play affair in terms of me streaming with it. It turns out that is not going to be the case. So it's taking a little bit of extra research on my part to figure out what exactly I have to do with it. But the it's so far I definitely like this video better than the other one, but I don't know how the sound is on this versus on my computer from the last couple of these. So just give me some feedback. Oof, 32 to 18. So yeah, that's rough, Scotty, for sure. But I'm glad you made the cut. That's for sure. I'm glad you're still there, and that's always a plus. Sound is perfect. Awesome. Good. Out of curiosity, do you pick up on any of the music that I've got going in the background? I don't know if that's too loud, loud enough that you can even hear any of it, or what. I haven't really gotten a chance to play around with it too much. I just downloaded the other day the streaming program OBS, and so I have to play around with the settings and get everything set up. So that'll come over the next like couple of weeks. I'll keep adding little things here and there till I get it the way I want it. And look at this. It's like old times. We got Scotty and Onions in the same chat at the same time. Yeah, I've been thinking about streaming on Twitch as well. It's a platform I haven't really explored too much, but it's definitely on my radar. Um, Once I figure out, like, I'm not 100% sure the capabilities of OBS yet because I haven't really done a ton of research on it. It's just like one of the streaming programs I was familiar with and had heard of. Um, and then so once I figure out what it's capable of, I'll either stick with it or move on to something else that hits what I want. But I'd like to be able to like simulcast to a bunch of different platforms at the same time. So I'd like to hit YouTube, and I'd like to hit Facebook, and I'd like to hit Twitch at the same time. So um, oh man. There's a huge part of me, guys, that misses those old World of Warcraft days. I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about trying it out again, but I know it just wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? Like it's basically the main thing trying to draw me back in is the memories of the good times that I had with the people that were there and like the nostalgia of it. And I know I know it wouldn't be what I like how I remember it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to sully the good memories that I have by trying to go back and having a miserable time. So plus two, my life is busy enough right now with a you know 1.5-year old and wife and you know job and all my various hobbies that it just there's no room, there's no time for it. Maybe someday I can get back to the joy of gaming. Yeah, nostalgia, man. Yeah, it's just not the same. It's really not, man. Again, part of it is like the people. Like I know that there's certain people that wouldn't be there, that were there before, that were a big part of what made it so fun. And like, you know, even if you like forced the band back together, so to speak, it just wouldn't have that same, I don't know, whatever that it did before. You know what I mean? Like, um, so, but that being said, there's still, there's other games out there, and there's other ways to stay connected and other things to do. Um, like for instance, the big thing that replaced video games for me, amongst other things, was like tabletop gaming. So take Warhammer for instance. That and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. And that's usually what I do these days, instead. And I find that it has, especially, I think if I had to compare them, I think it's especially Dungeons and Dragons, because we have a pretty big group that I play with. There's like 7 people, I think, including the DM. Um, so it's almost like having that 10-man raid group, that was super tight. And even then, our 10-man raid group realistically was like 7 or 8 people, and then we had a rotating fill for the other 2. You know what I mean? So it's a very similar feel. Oh, Ursel, man, I miss that dude. He was awesome. Um, I Yeah, that guy was really cool. I liked him a lot. I definitely miss him and his wonderful sense of humor. Um, yeah, he was good people. Uh, I'm not like I can't necessarily say I'm surprised he still plays. Um, you know what I mean? Like I kind of picture him as a lifer in that regard. But yeah, I just once I got out, getting back in, it's just not something I can do. For better or worse. But made a lot of good friends while I was there, and had a lot of good times. So it was all worth it. I still miss getting together with you, onions, and doing the Diablo 3 thing, and grinding out the greater rifts and stuff with you. That was a good time too. Speaking of fun other games, even though it's still technically a Blizzard game. And don't get me started on Heroes of the Storm. Man, oh man, I missed that game. Like, whoa. That's awesome, Scotty. You'll have to. Oh wait, I think I've seen pictures on. Didn't you post pictures of that on Facebook one time? I feel like I saw some pictures of that, and it was pretty badass, if I recall correctly. As for your comment about missing D&D, I totally understand that. Um, the group I'm with now, I used to play with them years ago, and right about the time my daughter was due, I stopped. Like I bowed out of the group because I knew that like with a brand new infant, like I was not going to have any time to play. Especially with like the way that my wife and my work schedules work. Um, she she works nights like from 4 to 9 or 10, and I work 5 a.m. to like 2:30, give or take, usually. Um, so it was basically like I'd go to work, come home, she'd hand me the baby, get ready for work, and leave, and then I would have Morgan for the rest of the night, and then we would either go to bed just before my wife got home or just after. So like most days I would see my wife for maybe 15 minutes a day, um, which was less than desirable all around. Um, which is why I keep saying that like uh, this whole lockdown thing has sort of been I don't know, a good thing in a way. It's not without its silver lining, at least. Let's put it that way. Fair enough, Scotty. I understand. Yeah, it's definitely not the ideal situation, but unfortunately, it's sort of what we have to do, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like the whole childcare thing is real expensive, and you know, this is what we've got to do. So it's what we do. All right. Well, this pony's looking pretty good. I don't know how well that's showing up, but the the cloth is looking pretty purple. So it might be time for the next one, which is good because that means this is going a little bit faster than I thought it was going to. The last couple of these guys I've done, it's taken like a million coats of thin paint to get that color I want. So I'm glad this is not taking forever. Oh, I should do some sort of an update thing from last week in terms of hobby stuff. So on the end of this, towards the tail end of the stream last week, I started painting that little zombie guy. Let me see if I can get some more light going here. Maybe we'll move this one out of the way. Well, he's kind of washed out there, isn't he? Well, anyway, suffice to say, I finished the little zombie guy. Um, Took me, you know, whatever on stream, and then after the stream was over, I worked on it for a little bit, and then the next day I kind of went back with a fresh set of eyes and just kind of hit a few details of it. I'm pretty sure I posted him on Instagram and therefore Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. It kind of, went out from Instagram to hit everything else. Same thing too with there was a big terrain piece that's somewhere on that shelf behind me that I finished up as well over the last. I forget what day it was. I worked on that, but you'd be surprised how quick those terrain pieces go. Even though they're like 4 or 5 times the size or more of like some of these little miniatures, but the little miniatures have so much little detail on them that they end up taking a hell of a lot longer. Um, yeah, the zombie came out pretty cool. I liked him. And then, the other cool thing, I ordered off of eBay the bits and pieces I needed for my new necromancer. Um, he's not securely blue tacked down right now, but this guy right here, um, and he's super cool. I can't wait to get this guy painted. He's got just a really cool, ominous look to him, very imposing. So, yeah, I'm super excited to get that guy done up. Um, I don't know exactly. Maybe I can get him primed tomorrow. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be on hold for a little bit. As I said last week, I did pick up a commission for a buddy of mine. So that's going to take priority for a little bit until that's done. And that my game plan is I'm going to get the model itself needs a bath because it's Reaper bones, and that stuff usually has like mold release agent all over it still. So I'm going to give it a nice hot bath, throw it in some warm water with a little bit of dish soap, and just scrub at it with a toothbrush. And once it's all clean, I'll set it out to dry overnight, and then tomorrow, I assume after our hike tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure what time we're doing that yet, but whenever we get back from that, I will probably take that out into the garage and get that primed and ready to go. If time allows, I will get started on it tomorrow. But we'll see. I don't want to promise more than I can actually get done on it, but it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, it's going to be a fun little commission piece. It's a D&D piece for my friend's game. It's a I think the actual model is supposed to be like a giant purple worm. He has it's like a named model. Um, it's like Cragmaw or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, it's a big worm thing busting up out of the ground. Bunch of teeth, bunch of big like chitinous plates. Just really cool looking. He wants it instead of doing it like a purple worm, which is usually like purples and pinks and stuff like that. He wants it done like painted up in like lava colors, so it's going to be like a magma worm. Um, and that I'm pretty excited about too. I've never I've messed around with some like sort of lava, fire, molten metal kind of effects on some models here and there, but never on this sort of scale. And so I'm really looking forward to trying some stuff out with that. I have some plans, some sort of um, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for right now. My brain's kind of going sideways on me, but um, basically, I have not only a paint scheme in mind, but like I think I have the methods of how I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to try and use my airbrush for a good portion of it. Um, and shoot like the yellows and the orange and the red like up into the cracks under the plate, and then everything else is going to get probably like a super heavy dry brush of black, and then a couple lighter, like successively lighter dry brushes of lighter and lighter grays. So it's basically like you can see the heat, almost like for those of you that are we were just talking about World of Warcraft, almost like a Deathwing sort of thing, where you've got like that burning inner fire that you can see in between like the cracks and the armor plates and whatnot, and then everything else is going to be like you know brown and black and stuff. So it should be pretty cool. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a fun little project. Try some new stuff. Um, yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Um, like I said, I'm not 100% sure how it's going to turn out. I know it's going to turn out well. It's just a matter of like the twists and turns along the way, like how I'm going to get there. Um, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it will be not too bad. Like I said, it's sort of new territory for some of the techniques involved. So, and I don't typically use my airbrush for a lot of like actual like workhorse painting yet. I'm still relatively new to the whole airbrush thing, um, and so that'll take a little bit of getting used to. Like I've obviously I've used my airbrush, but mostly for like painting things a solid color because I'm like base coating or priming or something like that. So um, this is going to be the first real attempt sort of using it for anything broader, I guess. But I'm looking forward to it. I think I've got a reasonable handle on the thing. One of the things I believe I will be able to do with that OBS program as well is I'm pretty sure I can pipe music directly into it, and then there's like a an in-program mixer that I can adjust all of the levels and so forth with too. So um, right now I've got just a Bluetooth speaker off to my left here that's got a little bit of music playing, and again I don't know how well it's coming through on the speakers or the how well the mic is picking any of it up, but the idea is that it's supposed to be at least very calm and quiet, relatively subtle and in the background, but if I ever run out of things to say, hopefully it'll help fill the silence, you know. What's up, Wix? Oh, there's my wife, Gina. Hello. Oh, awesome, Scotty. That's good. That's good. How was your unofficial Saturday, Wix? You have a good day off? But yeah, Scotty. I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to like learning some of the actual capabilities of OBS. I sort of jumped down that YouTube rabbit hole a little bit earlier and was just watching video after video after video on it. But at the same time, I was also taking care of my daughter, and she was like, jumping off of our giant ottoman over here onto my lap, like on repeat. Just, she'd jump on my lap and then climb down and then climb back up onto the ottoman, get a running start, jump off back onto my lap. So, the things you do with a 1.5-year-old, essentially. Um, so, and for those that didn't see it, I posted up a video on my Facebook yesterday. The story behind that was both my wife and I needed an oil change, and one of our good friends, her husband, is like a car guy, mechanic-y kind of guy, right? And he, I guess he's not doing a ton of work right now, with everything that's going on. So um, we needed the oil change. We knew he needed the money, and we were like, well, if we're gonna spend money on an oil change, we might as well give it to somebody that we know and like. So we had him come over yesterday, and he gave us both an oil change. Well, his wife came along as well. So my wife and his wife were sitting in lawn chairs on either side of our driveway, mixed drinks in hand, just kind of kick back and chit chatting, and they were having a good old fashioned relax, which is I approve. And that being said, I was inside with Morgan, keeping her sort of otherwise occupied because it's hard to social distance a 1.5-year-old. You know what I mean? Like they don't exactly know personal boundaries to begin with, let alone now adding 6 feet to that. Mm-mm. No, no, that doesn't work out well. So I was keeping her contained in the house, and I took the opportunity to teach her how to howl like a wolf. And so I posted a video of it on Facebook, and I'm personally obsessed with it because I think that it is like the most adorable thing in the world. Um, but I guess I'm probably a little bit biased because it's my daughter and all. So But I encourage everyone to go check it out at some point if you haven't already seen it. Wix, you know what? Yes. Speaking of which, right here, this fine beverage. Oh, right. Camera's up here now. I keep forgetting that I've got this thing up here now. So this is Ravenous Brewing Company, which, if that sounds familiar, it should. This is Justin from work. This is his brewery, and this is their coffee milk stout. This thing is killer. It is super good. So here we go. Mm. Oh yeah, that is a fine adult beverage, if I may say so myself. And yeah, man, when this whole thing finally blows over, whenever the hell that is, we'll definitely go out and catch a beer together for sure. Uh, yep. So right now we're still just blocking in the purple on the I don't know. I don't know if that's technically barding. I always thought the barding was just more like the leather straps, but whatever this cloth is, this horse has. So we're getting through it. I've got two of the remaining guys done. This guy's almost done, and then I've got one and a half more after that. So uh, we'll see. We'll see from there where we get to for the night. I might switch gears a little bit after this and hit some terrain because that stuff tends to bang out pretty quick. And realistically, I'm looking to clear some space off of my hobby desk so that I can fit some other projects on here because I've got a bigger backlog than I care to admit. But you know, I'm trying to cross off the important stuff first. I've got so many projects lined up that are all things I'm super excited to do, and I'm trying to temper that excitement with some sort of, you know, reason because otherwise I'll just be like painting these two models and then these two models, but no actual anything is going to get like 100% finished. So trying to I'm trying to contain my excitement, and while it is technically speaking working, it is less fun. The image is good on TV, huh? Nice. This is actually so. This is not the like the new camera. So I got in here. Let me rinse my brush real quick so we don't get paint drying on it. Um, so this is the camera that my wife and I just picked up. Um, this was like it was rated once upon a time as being like a super good vlogging camera. It's the what is this? The Canon SX 730 HS. It's just like a little, you know, automatic camera or whatever. It's got a nice, you know, pop up screen. Really good picture, really good, you know, sound quality, picture quality, video quality. It's all really good. I was under the impression, based on several of the videos that we had seen regarding this camera, that it was going to be good for streaming as well, which it very well may be. I just haven't quite figured all that out yet. Again, I was under the impression it was going to be a fairly simple plug and play situation where, you know, you just plug in the HDMI cable into the side of it, jack that into the computer, and then you're good to fly. Uh, apparently that is not the case. So that being said, I may have to jump through a few more hoops, but eventually I will figure it out. Worst case scenario, it's really good for all of the things. Like my wife and I basically went in on this thing together, so that because she wants to do a little bit of video stuff here and there for her work, but also a lot of like pictures and video stuff for home with Morgan, and just sort of like, she does post a lot of stuff on Instagram for her aesthetics and her makeup, as well as her permanent makeup and her eyebrows that she does. So she wanted a really good quality camera for that, so that she could better show off the work that she's doing. Um, and I wanted something that took decent photos, but I was in it more for like the streaming sort of thing, or at the very least, um, shooting videos for YouTube. I do have rather, I would say, extensive plans, I guess, for my YouTube channel. Um, I do have a lot of things planned as far as things that I would like to expand into. Having this camera is a good step towards that, because I can start filming some of that stuff. So even if this is not a great streaming camera, it will still, the vlogging aspect of it, I will still be able to do some of the other uh, series that I had planned. So that's a plus. So right now, this is instead of being, so the last couple of them were just on my laptop's webcam. This is its own like Logitech. I don't know what the hell kind it is, but it's a Logitech. It's 1080p HD webcam, and yeah, the picture, as far as I'm concerned, is light years above what the stock camera was. I don't know how. I'll have to go back and listen to some of the other ones versus this one and see how the audio differs, because right now I'm using the webcam microphone as opposed to the computer microphone, because I haven't yet gotten like a USB mic or something like that. But at some point, not like super soon maybe, but at some point in the near future, let's say, I aim to get a designated microphone, let's say. So we'll see. I think before I sink anything into like a microphone like that, I want to pick up one of these sort of like boom arms for this camera to attach to, because the whole idea is I want to be able to have that camera facing down, recording what I'm actually doing on the mat here. So that like you can actually see my palette, you can actually see the mini that I'm painting, and stuff like that. Because staring at my face, yeah, okay, I'm a handsome devil, but at the same time, like, um, the I feel like it's probably not the most exciting thing in the world. But yeah, so we'll see. So that's one of my plans. As far as actual plans for the YouTube channel at large, there are at the moment two other series that I'm planning to add into the rotation at some point. Um, the constant is going to be this stream. So this is not necessarily the backbone of the channel, but this is going to be like, probably the more um, I guess often shot thing. Uh, so this is going to be going on, just as it is now. It's going to be an every Friday thing, just kind of going forward. But in addition to that, I'm going to probably be doing a very short, like 15 to 30 minute, which is short by my calculations at least, but a 15 to 30 minute video once a week as well. So I'll have 2 weekly videos coming out. That short one is going to be a Dungeons and Dragons campaign diary. So as I'm playing my game, and that unfortunately, like, we've been in the middle of the campaign that I'm currently in. I want to say it's been like 3 years that we've been playing this campaign. Actually, yes, because like last night, like early this morning, however you want to look at it, was like marked the 3-year anniversary of my heart attack. So I was already playing in that campaign when I had that heart attack. So it's been over 3 years that campaign has been going on now. And so that has it's so far in right now that starting doing a diary thing now just seems like there'd be so much to try and explain and fill in that it just wouldn't be worth it, I don't think. So my game plan is wait until this campaign wraps up, which, I mean, I don't know exactly how much life is left in the campaign, but at least from the appearance of where I'm at as a player, I feel like it's starting to build towards its some sort of climax. But yeah, so it's basically going to be a weekly update. So I'll be, it's going to be a very frank sort of like vlog style thing. I'll probably set up the camera on like a little tripod on my desk here and just do like a one-on-one thing, basically explaining, like what happened this week in our campaign. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to make promises on this because I may or may not be able to follow through with it. But there is a big part of me that wants to deliver this diary from the perspective of my character. So whatever character I end up playing in this campaign, like I will sort of RP and role play out my diary entry. You know what I mean? So like, I probably won't, like, I'm not going to throw on like a LARP costume or anything like that. But like if he has a particular accent that maybe I can do, that, I might like talk in his voice or, do whatever. Again, I don't know that is going to be the thing that happens. But the diary will happen. That's 100%. Oh, look at that! There's Mr. Jason in the chat there. That is my DM and very good friend. So, yes, it has been 3+ years, and it has been a long time and super fun. All right, let's see here. I think this one's pretty good. I think we're moving on to the next one. So yeah, so that's thing the first. So that is, well, I guess technically this is thing the first, so that would be thing the second. But that's my other sort of like small form or short form video that I plan to put out. And again, that's going to be like a weekly thing. It's going to be more just kind of like this is, not heavily edited. It's going to be just sort of like stream of consciousness, me talking about what happened in that week's session and sort of like how I feel about it, how my character feels about it, that kind of thing. So I suppose for the people that I play D&D with, it might be chock full of spoilers and weird insight into my character that maybe I don't want them to have. But at the same time, it's going to be fun, so who cares? And then the other series I'm planning is Warhammer related. And this I'm super excited about because this is something I've wanted to do for years now. And but I'm going to be doing Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle reports. And it's not going to be uh, well, let me rephrase that. The thing that I feel is missing, at least among a lot of the battle report channels that I've seen, is a lot of them that have a sort of like, they claim to have a more like narrative bent to them. They're not, I feel like a lot of them aren't that narrative. Because, like they just basically come up with maybe a reason why they're fighting, but it doesn't seem to have any like progression at all. So my game plan, at first at least, I'm in the process of building the background of a Warhammer campaign. So myself, Jason, our friend Joe, and I think maybe my brother. Um, I don't know if anybody else is getting involved as in terms of being like a regular sort of player and a regular character. But there's going to be at least 3 or 4 of us, and we're going to be doing a a long form narrative campaign involving our respective armies. Now I have a series of smaller armies as well. The one I'm going to be using for the narrative campaign is going to be my Legions of Nagash army. The whole idea behind it and the whole game plan is that I am choosing to focus on the realm of death, Shaiish, which is like an established, sort of realm within the Warhammer lore. We're going to be focusing in on the realm of death, and specifically sort of building out the local lore of a particular area in the realm of death. And not that I have a particular area in mind, but like we're basically going to pick a point. Like they've drawn up a map of the realm, um, and we're just going to kind of pick a point and be like, we're from here. And then it's going to be like our respective kingdoms and armies sort of vying for territory and resources and control and political stuff and alliances and betrayals and all that kind of stuff. So it should be, I think, a lot more interesting, at least, than a lot of the stuff that's sort of out there, because it's going to be very much a story thing. Like basically, it's going to be like D&D, the war game, if that makes any sense. Like I'm actually building out a campaign system in which like the heroes in our armies and stuff like that will gain experience, gain levels, maybe unlock new item slots, things like that, just so that like they can be those sort of like epic heroes that you hear, like generations from now, the people in this area will still whisper their name in equal parts fear and reverence. Um, so that's sort of what I'm going for. Um, a lot of the terrain that I'm building and painting right now is for that project in particular. I'm sort of like theming all of it around Shaiish, theming all of it around it's the realm of death. So it's all sort of like dark and sort of creepy and morbid. But yeah, so that's the idea. Is um, I'll be doing D&D sort of short form video, and then the battle reports, which will be a little bit more edited, a little bit more. I mean, I loosely use the term professional because I am far from professional, but we'll see. It should be good. When that stuff can be expected is anyone's guess. The D&D campaign diary thing is completely dependent on when a new campaign starts. Because again, like we are so deep into this one right now that it just doesn't it doesn't make sense for me to start like suddenly doing campaign diary stuff because nobody's gonna like hell. I just rejoined and I barely know what's going on because like I'm still like both me physically and my character are literally playing catch up at the same time, trying to figure out what the party's been up to for the last like year and a half. So yeah. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited. And actually, for those of you again that have seen and follow me on Instagram and here on Facebook and stuff, I did post up pictures as well. I've been building a table for like a big 6 by 4 foot gaming table that I built up at the very beginning. I finished building it and staining it and sanding it and all that jazz at the very beginning of this whole lockdown thing. So that's currently sitting out in the garage. Hopefully getting a little bit of the warp out of it because a couple of the corners kind of curled up on each other. But do I listen to podcasts? Yeah, sure, I listen to podcasts. I listen mostly. I mean, honestly, it's mostly like hobby stuff, like either painting or it's either painting or Warhammer or D&D related podcasts. But yeah, specifically those. Um, Hello, Ashley. Hello, Nick. Welcome. So yeah. Anyway, that's like I said, that's a pretty decent glimpse into the plans for the YouTube channel. And actually, speaking of the YouTube channel, let me see if do I still have. No, that's not what I want. That's what I want. Let's grab the link for it. Do one of these. Oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right at all. Well, anyway, I was going to try and throw up a link to it, but for some reason it's being finicky, and I don't want to risk losing the live stream trying to hunt around. We'll get back to it another time. I'll have to throw my my link in like a little notepad or something like that, so I can easily spam it out when I need to. Things to learn for the future, I guess, right? Glass cannon. Oh, that sounds awesome. If you find yeah, like what platform do you find that podcast on? I'd love to check it out. Yeah, onions. I do Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, um, and that's usually when I go live, and it's usually for like 2 hours or so. So I usually go from like 9 to 11, and yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Um, like I said, I'll be adding that other stuff at some point, but as far as the actual streaming goes, that's where I'm at right now. Um, and I you know what? Hang on. This is gonna frustrate me if I don't do this. Let's see let's do this. I'm just jumping back over, opening up a new tab in my browser and trying to make my way to where I can grab the link for. You know what? This should work. Let's copy that. Just to test it, open a new tab, paste it in there. Does that take you to where it should? Yeah, that looks like that takes you to where it should. Okay, so hopefully this is correct. Like I said, I'll make sure for next week are planned out, but that should be the link to my YouTube channel. So if you want to go ahead and head over there at some point and throw a like and a subscribe and all that good stuff. Hit the little bell icon for the notifications, and then that way when I go live, you'll get a notification saying, hey, Wes just went live. So look at me plugging myself on YouTube like a professional. Let's see here. What else is going on? Oh wow, they've been going for 4 years, huh? That's awesome. I'll have to look them up. Thank you for the tip. All right, more purple on horses. Back to it. I would hardly call myself a pro, sir, but I thank you for the kind words and the sentiment. Maybe if somehow this all takes off and people like where we're going with this, then I can actually start turning some sort of a profit off of it. Maybe that would be kind of cool, but I'm not holding my breath at this point. I'm just doing it for the love of the game, so to speak, and we'll worry about that. We'll worry about that later. But ultimately, I got to take care of my kid. I got to take care of my wife, and if I can do it by doing something I love, that is sort of the dream, So, not that I anticipate I'll be able to like quit my job and just do this kind of thing full time. If that were the case, oh man, I'd be convinced I died and went to heaven. But as far as I'm concerned, getting together once a week with some friends in the chat, hanging out and doing some of what I'd be doing anyway, but doing it, getting to hang out and talk to good people, that is just fine by me. You know what? I will 100% look into that. It's you're saying things that I like the sound of. It's all things that again, I've always kind of wanted to do. So there's a big part of me. There's a big part of me that is just kind of trying to do all those things that I've always said I want to do, and for some reason always manage to find an excuse not to. And this whole stream, for instance, it kind of came about as a result of that, because this is how I spend my Friday nights anyway. You know what I mean? Like, minus the talking to people. It's I'm sitting in my downstairs, you know, painting, listening to music, watching YouTube, whatever. And but I'm here every Friday and Saturday night anyway. So I figured, what's the difference if I turn on a webcam? You know what I mean? And like interact with people and have a little bit of fun for a couple of hours while I'm doing it. Um, you know, a few weeks ago was when I did my first one, and it was just sort of a random experiment on my part, and I ended up having a ton of fun doing it. So I was like, you know what? That's not as intimidating as I thought it was going to be. So screw it. Let's just go for it. And here we are. It is like old times in a way. You know what I mean? Like, because, well, obviously you know what I mean since you said it. So, but yeah, I mean, when we used to sit on Discord and talk till like 3 in the morning, or before Discord, it was Ventrilo, and then there was Skype and all that stuff. Like, you know, I feel like this is in a way a return to my roots, sort of. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, it definitely feels it feels good, and it feels fairly natural for me. So that's definitely a big part of the reason why I think I'm going to keep going for a while, and we'll see where it goes. But even if like, I don't know, it's definitely like something that I'm going to continue doing regardless of, you know, I guess how it's received. Like I said, I think everybody has dreams of turning whatever they love into you know, something that they can actually make a living at. But that's not my initial goal, at least. Let's put it that way. Yeah, Vent and Skype. That's right, man. We had Vent and Skype going simultaneously, and then it would be like me, you, Diana. Who else was there? There's usually like two or three other people that we would have in Skype, and then everybody else would be in Vent as well, like the entire rest of the guild. So it was like the officers were like in this little Skype call with each other, like talking about like the things that needed to be talked about, and then you know, we could like get on Vent and relay information. It was a lot of fun. Good times. Oh, Mags, that's right. Yeah, Mags was there. I miss that kid too. This was a little bit later on, but then there was Calabask, Alex. He was real cool. He was funny. You know, the thing that kills me about all that, you know, back in the day was, more often than not, I I knew everybody by their like in-game like either character name or handle or something like that. I was gonna say Zardoom is like one of them. Like there was Zardoom. Uh, oh God, who else? Like honestly, like I feel like most of them, like I don't even remember their real names anymore. You know what I mean? Like at one point I knew them, but it makes me feel like a bad friend, even though like we were all super good friends. Jackson, yeah, Jackson and I still like occasionally talk back and forth in comments and stuff like that on Facebook. Hunk of Beef, I remember him. He is it Mark? Was that his name? I think his name was Mark. Pretty sure we're still friends on Facebook. Um, I think Zardoom and I are still technically friends on Facebook, although I can't remember the last time I saw anything from him on Facebook. So either that's like the Facebook algorithms just screwing me over, or he just doesn't post much. I don't know which is the accurate thing. The guy that picked was that the guy? Yeah, Surreal. Fuck. I was thinking about him the other day. I was actually talking to my wife about like the crew, and I was trying to remember. I was like, I remember his character name was Surreal, but I can't for the life of me remember what his actual name was. Now that I think about it, now that like right this very second, I think it was Aaron, but I legitimately I just don't remember. Like it was so long ago, I feel like. So, I don't know. Well, coffee's gone. Back to the coffee beer. Oh yeah. That's fine quality beverage. There was that brief period of time. Well, it wasn't that brief actually. Now that I really stop and think about it, but I remember Galliana. Yeah. I don't remember her. Elizabeth. I do remember her name. Her name was Elizabeth. Um, yeah. No, not Aaron with an E, like Aaron, like Aaron or something like that. I feel like that was his name, but I could be wrong. In fact, I'm like 90% sure I'm wrong, but that's for some reason that's the name I think of when I think of him. Man, all these memories just like flying down nostalgia lane right now, or memory lane. Whatever. All right, I think this one needs a little bit more love, but we're almost there. I think once this one is done, I have one more left. Yeah, I feel like that was it, but I don't know.
I always feel bad that I lost track of a lot of those guys because they were good people. Oh man. Oh, so I had the distinct pleasure today or tonight, I guess, of we we went out and picked up sushi for dinner. And this was a new place that we'd never gotten sushi from before. And while it took forever to actually get the food because like they had a little pickup takeout window kind of thing, not a drive-through, like a you stand there and order and pick up your food there kind of thing. Um, but it was easily some of the best sushi that I think I've ever had. So it was like super well worth the wait. Um, and we're definitely going to go back to this place, but it was it's definitely a pain in the ass. And I felt like especially bad because my daughter, we all drove over there, and then I got out and went and picked up the food, and then like came back to the car. Um, but right as we pulled into the parking lot there, my daughter, I guess she got like car sick or something like that, and she just threw up all over herself. Um, and so like my wife was frantically trying to get her cleaned up uh, at the car, like in the car while I'm like standing in line for it had to have been like at least a half an hour, 45 minutes. I was just sitting in line. Um, I would like to say real sushi. I personally had, what did I have? I had a salmon roll, I had a salmon skin roll, and a spicy salmon roll. You may sense a theme here. I went all in on salmon. Um, and then I had a fourth roll that was like one of those like fancy like specialty rolls. It was called like the Black Dragon roll or something like that. And it was basically like I think it was tempura eel in the middle with like avocado, more eel, and eel sauce all on the top. So it was like mostly salmon and then like a bunch of eel as well. And it was killer. Well, my daughter doesn't really eat the sushi anyway. Um, I think we ended up making her some oatmeal when we got home because we thought it would sit well in her stomach and she'll actually eat it. So, but yeah, my wife and I just shoveled sushi into our faces when we got home because we were hungry. Like when we went to go pick it up, and then like I said, it took me like at least 45 minutes waiting in line just to get the stuff and get back to the car. So then it took us another like probably 20 minutes to get home. So by the time we got home, we were just like sushi in face now. Let's go. Plus, too, I was like running around like an idiot trying to get everything like set up and ready for the stream tonight. Um, I knew that we were going to be going to get sushi. Like we had discussed that a couple of days ago. That like today we were going to go get sushi, and then I what I didn't know was I hadn't planned on two things. I hadn't planned on going with her to get the sushi. Actually, three things. That was one. Two, I didn't realize how far away this place was. And three, I absolutely did not realize how long I was going to be sitting and waiting. So those things, like I thought I had way more time to like get all my stuff together and get prepared and whatnot for today. And I was sorely mistaken. But that's all right. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and call this guy done. So again, just kind of do one of these. Um, just some purple on the cloth here on the front and back. Most of that's going to be, well, not most of it, but a good chunk of it's going to be covered up when the actual rider goes on there. But I really just want to get like a good smooth coat on there to begin with, which is done. And this is just like the blocking in the sort of the base coats and the base colors and stuff like that before any sort of shading and stuff goes on there. Have I tried the eel sauce with sushi? Yeah, I had. So both the salmon skin roll, which I, first of all, this was not my first time having a salmon skin roll. Like, if you've never tried salmon skin roll, I highly recommend it. It's like the bacon of sushi, if that makes any sense. So it's like, first of all, the one I got tonight, and I think the ones I've had before also had eel sauce on top of it. So it's like the crispy fried skin of the salmon, still with like chunks of salmon stuck to it, that's like all rolled up in the sushi roll itself. So you get that wonderful sort of juxtaposition of textures. You get that like kind of chewy, sticky sushi rice, you know, the jasmine rice or whatever that is. And then you also get that like crispy, crunchy skin. So like the mouth feel of it is just great. And then the flavor is out of this world. So yeah, I can't recommend that particular sushi roll enough if you've never tried it. I guess if you have tried it and for whatever reason it's not your thing, then you know that's fine. To each their own. Um, I my what did my wife get? My wife got is it the Alaska roll? I think that's the one. No, Philly roll. Philly roll. I'm sorry. So it was like the smoked salmon and the cream cheese, and then I don't remember what the other one she got was. Or no, was that? I think that's what she was going to get, and then she ended up getting the like one of the fancy specialty rolls that was called like the Caterpillar or something like that, and it was basically the same exact roll, just with more stuff on it. And I think it was like I think that had eel and eel sauce on it too. So it was like salmon and cream cheese and eel sauce and probably some other stuff. And then I forget whatever the other one was. I think that one had like tempura shrimp in it or something like that. But anyway. Yeah, dude, definitely check it out. It's good eating. Good eating. All right. So, I have one horse left to paint, but I'm going to do that later, probably after the stream. I've got about 35, 40 minutes left in the stream, give or take. So we're going to close up the wet palette, set that aside, and I'm going to do a little bit of terrain while we are still here. So, I have. Let me grab the piece I did earlier in the week. Where did I put it? There it is. So this was the piece I did earlier in the week. So we can all see it. Hopefully pretty okay. Again, I did take pictures of this or a picture of it and throw it up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. But this set in particular comes along with these three little archways, and they're just like big sort of stone archways. Very what is that? My brain just doesn't want to work today. Of course, being up since like 3 a.m. might have something to do with that. But yeah. So oh, I know what it is in my head. It's on the tip of my tongue, but for whatever reason, my brain just again is not making those connections for me, which is, I'm sure, wonderful. You know, entertainment for everyone as well. But yeah, so this these three little archways go as part of this set, and then so yeah, I'm gonna work on them. That's basically what I'm getting at. So let's see here. I'm gonna need some paper towel. So right now these are just primed black, and then if memory serves, I think I hit these things with matte varnish. I know I hit the big piece with matte varnish before I did any of the dry brushing and the actual painting of it. I intended to do it with these, but now that I'm thinking about it, I honestly can't remember if I did or not. I was trying to see if I could actually smell the matte varnish on it, but fortunately that stuff no longer smells. Because let me tell you, that matte varnish, the Tester's Dull Coat, it's a spray lacquer, so it's more it's just way more pungent, and it's actually like straight up toxic. Like it's not, those fumes you do not want to breathe in for like, you know, extended periods of time or at all really. So that's definitely a thing where it's like you need to be in a super well ventilated area, be outside, something like that, because it stinks and it is not something fun to breathe in. So but yeah, so anyway, right now I'm just kind of dusting these off because they've been sitting on my desk for a little bit, and I just want to make sure that they're at least relatively clean before I start slapping paint on them. I primed these up a while ago. I think I started priming some of this stuff up on one of my sort of inaugural test live streams on Facebook Live back, I don't know, a few weeks ago now. But it was like an all-day stream event. It was basically Wes sits in his garage and primes things with an airbrush for like, I don't know, I think I was at it for like 7 hours straight or something like that. I don't know. I was just like had a ton of stuff and was just like, I'm priming everything. Let's go. So that's what I did. So this is a makeup brush that I love for dry brushing. I actually just spent a bunch of time the other day getting it all cleaned up because it had like caked on, dried on paint from using it for dry brushing for weeks and weeks and weeks. But the yeah, this thing, especially for terrain, this covers so much real estate at once when you're trying to, you know, dry brush a something or other. And man, it's it's good. I love this thing. My wife picked it up for me. I've been asking because she works around makeup and stuff like that all the time, and I was like, look, I don't know, you know, where you have to go to get this stuff, but just I need some cheap makeup brushes. Like you don't have to spend money on them, just like whatever's like a couple of bucks for a makeup brush. And I think she was out at like Marshall's or something like that and just randomly saw like a 4-pack of makeup brushes that was just like assorted different sized makeup brushes. And this one in particular was in there, and I saw it when she brought it home, and I was like, that one, I need that one. So yeah, it's good. Airbrush. Yep. Um, yeah, man. I'm sorry if I made you hungry. I literally just ate dinner like what, an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, something like that. And I just made myself hungry again. So, um, yeah, it's kind of like Bruce Banner and the Hulk and him saying he's always angry. I'm just always hungry. So, anyway. So, I guess for those amongst you who maybe don't know what I'm doing and what dry brushing is, dry brushing, unlike regular painting, you when you're normally painting something, you usually try and at least use a moist brush, something that's got a little bit of water in it or whatever. When you're dry brushing, you legitimately want a bone dry brush, and the idea is you put a little bit of paint on the end of the bristles and then you wipe it all off. Like you just work it into the bristles and wipe it off onto, in this case, paper towel. You can use like cardboard or toilet paper or anything, really. And the idea is to get it so that there's no, like, when you brush it on your hand like this, you don't want any paint to come off on your hand, unless like you're doing it like on the back of your thumb, and you can get some like on where the wrinkles are on the back of your thumb knuckle. You know what I mean? But the idea is that when you lightly brush over a surface, it catches all of the raised areas, but doesn't get down into the recesses. So it's a quick and easy way to like highlight stuff, um, and sort of like add a little bit of texture and color into things. So all of this terrain stuff is basically like, I dry brush the crap out of it, with like, so I started with a base coat of black primer, and then I go on with three different grays. I've got like a really dark kind of brown toned gray, and then there's a mid tone sort of brown tone gray, and then just like a straight neutral, light gray that goes on top of it all. Um, that light gray, when I do this step, like right now, I'm doing this, so I'm going in like circular motions, to get like even uh, dispersal and coverage of the paint off the dry brush. Um, but when I'm using the super light gray, what I do is I only go in one direction, top down, so that it hits all of the top edges, but not the bottom edges, and it gives the illusion of light coming down and hitting that surface. And you're not going to get, unless it's like reflected light off of like a particularly shiny surface, or like off the ground coming up like at the very base here, you're not going to get like light hitting on those under sides. Those are going to be a little darker. So that's my method, at least. And so like I said, this particular method of painting goes fairly quickly because it doesn't require much in the way of attention to detail or care. You're literally just rubbing a brush with a little tiny itty bitty bit of paint on it, all up and down and around and all over this. And because this is stone that I'm attempting to paint here, like the material this is supposed to look like is stone, even if I don't clean out as much paint as I would like to, and I get some weird splotches here and there and some weird little blobs, it's, kind of like uneven chiseled stone, so it kind of doesn't look bad anyway. And if you look at like stone, like natural rocks and stuff like that, it's not like one smooth shade. You know what I mean? Like there's different deposits of minerals and ore, and you get like stratification of like, there's a lighter stone here, and even like if you're looking at just like granite or slate or something like that. There's variations all over the place. So realistically, there's no possible way to screw this up. um, so, and this was an eBay rescue. This kit, I purchased it on eBay for a pretty decent price, especially considering that this set in particular is out of print. They don't make it anymore, which it's one of my favorite sets for terrain that they've actually put out, which is sort of a bummer that they no longer make it, because realistically I would love to own more than one of these. um, Either paint them up differently for different table setups, or have more than one of them. Like maybe oh, what I was trying to think of earlier was Stonehenge. Yeah, like that's a real difficult thing, but apparently I couldn't think of it. But yeah, if you had like a ton of these things, you could set them up in like a ring around the center thing and have like a cool like Stonehenge looking sort of setup. Or if you had like a road, like a road or a pathway or something like that, with these sort of like in succession every so often, like lining the way, like it was some sort of like entrance to a ritual site or something like that. Like I just think it's a very cool, sort of useful and like evocative piece for the tabletop, where it could be used. It's versatile. You could use it for a bunch of different things and it all looks cool. So um, anyway, that's my take on this particular set. And like I said, it's a shame that they discontinued it. And realistically, I don't know why they discontinued it, because it was one of their more popular sets. But it was also pretty old. Like this thing's been around for, I don't know, probably at this point 20 years, give or take. Actually, it's got to be more than 20 years. Because it is 2020 right now, and I know that this set was around in the late, pretty sure at least it was around in the late 90s. So there you go. It's old. All right, so this is the second one right here that I'm putting this particular color and coat on. My plan is to kind of just do all three of these little bits at once. So I'm just using the same color, doing the same step on all three, and then moving to the next color and doing all three, and then moving to the final color and doing all three. And then I'll probably have some finishing little touches to do to some of these, just to add a little bit of um, visual interest, I suppose, and make it less boring to look at. Because even though I'm using three different grays on top of black, so a total of four colors, it's they're still going to look fairly uniform in terms of like their appearance, because all three of them are going to have the exact same steps done to them. So to kind of break up that general field of gray, what I've been doing on a lot of these sets is I have this right here. The name of it is Drakenhof Nightshade, but that's just sort of their particular branding. Essentially what it is it's a dark blue wash, like ink wash. But what I'll do is I'll take that dark blue ink wash and select certain panels. So like, on here, for instance, I think you can probably make out the three skulls in the center here. So what I would do is the tile the skull is on, I'll paint around the skull with that dark blue ink. And so that way it will ever so slightly tint the gray to be more of like a slate blue color. So it's like that gray blue, dark gray blue. Um, so when you look at it, it breaks up the gray and the monotony of the gray, but it still looks natural and it still looks like stone. Um, and then there's a little bit of added contrast as well because you've darkened down that background ever so slightly on those stones. And because I'm going to be using a light gray as my sort of like highest highlight for a lot of this stuff, the skulls, especially on like the bridge of the or the brow ridge and the nose and cheekbones and like those really high points on the skull, are going to have that light gray on there. So that light color is really going to pop out and make those features a little bit more like noticeable and apparent. So it's it's a good thing. Who was it that said that? I forget. That used to be somebody's catchphrase, and I can't for the life of me remember who. I want to say it was like, no, I don't remember. I'm not even going to pretend I remember. I thought it was Julia Child, but I don't think that was. I don't think that was it. But I feel like it was somebody in that vein, like a cook or a, I don't know. Anyway. So we're slapping on some more of this dark gray. For those of you that may or may not be familiar with, the Games Workshop line of paints, this is Skaven Blight Dinge. Is my first layer of dry brush here. Like I said, it's a nice warm gray. It's got like brown tones in it, and it's just really, it looks dingy and dirty. It's dark. It's like, it's all the things that I'm looking for in a dark gray for this particular project. Again, all of this stuff is being built and painted with the idea of being used specifically in the realm of death, Shaiish. So, my sort of initial idea, and it's easy to fall into the trap, I think, of, oh, it's the realm of death, so everything just needs to be black. Like, it's easy to just say, well, death is black, and but the problem is, if you just paint everything black, you're not going to be able to actually like see any of the cool details. And since I'm planning to do battle reports with a lot of this terrain, like, it's going to be getting filmed from like, anywhere from like 3 to 5 feet away. When it's on the table and you're standing back filming it, you want to be able to like see some of the details at least. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to see every little crack and crevice, but it's nice to get some idea of what it is you're looking at. So that's sort of the thought process behind, instead of doing straight black, doing like a dark gray that then like, has several different grays layered on top of it. The next gray I'm going to be using, again, for those that are familiar with the paint range, this is going to be Storm Vermin Fur. So again, it's like a warm, like brown gray. It's just, I don't know if this is going to show up at all. You can kind of see in the light there that this one is substantially lighter than the bottom one here. This being the, what did I say? It was Storm Vermin Fur. This one being the Skaven Blight Dinge. And you can see that this one's like almost a little bit browner even than this one is. And part of the reason, again, I like that sort of brown undertone in the gray is, it works for, in my opinion at least, it works for getting across the point of like dust and dirt and grime in general. Like these are ancient ruins that have been sitting outside getting rained on and, all manner of other thing, um, for, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of years. You know what I mean? Like, who knows how long these things have been sitting around. And, if they were pristine and everything was like perfectly chiseled and outlined and stuff like that, it would look brand spanking new and just wouldn't have the same feel to it. So, anyway, we did, like I said, like a fairly heavyish dry brush of the that first one there, the Skaven Blight Dinge. So now we're coming back over, and we're still hitting everything. We're just hitting it a little less vigorously, I suppose. We're just kind of coming in, and it's not quite we're not quite tickling it, but we're definitely not slapping the hell out of it either. So, but we're less concerned with the first coat. I hit every surface enough that even the flat surfaces pick up a little bit of that gray. So you get the black in the deep recesses with that dark gray as like essentially the main area, and then this sort of mid gray here becomes like the first step in the highlighting that really picks out the corners and the edges and the little skull reliefs that are all over this thing. This sort of acts as what I was saying before, like when you get that reflected light that comes from like the surrounding environment, whether it's the ground or other nearby objects and stuff like that. Light is going to come down, hit those, and then reflect off and hit all of these other items. So this color sort of helps to, I think, sort of helps to mimic that to a point. So again, we're just wiping off all the paint. And when we get to a point where there's not much coming off anymore, we know we're good. And we start to apply. But one of the reasons you do this with models in general is it adds the like they are obviously three-dimensional items, and they have details carved into them, but this helps to accentuate those details and really sort of bring it out. Adds depth and dimension to everything. You get deeper shadows and brighter highlights, and everything just kind of pops, as they say. All right, 2 done. Judging by the time, I think I'm going to get through all of the gray here before the stream ends. I've got, oops, that had a little bit more paint on it than I wanted. That's all right. Some of that will get covered up when I put my light gray on it, so I'm not super concerned. And like I said, it's a natural stone. It's going to have variation. And we're scrubbing and painting. All right, I think this guy is good. I'm going to call this done, this color. All right, so the mid gray is now done. And And we need our light gray. Again, for those of you that might be interested and or know the paint range, this is Dawnstone. Give it a shake, and you can see here this is like a much lighter sort of neutral gray. I don't know, again, it doesn't show up super great because my lighting is not amazing. But we'll hold this up with the other two, and you can see much better, much more easily the progression. So we've got the dark, the mid, and then the light gray here. And this doesn't have nearly as much of the sort of brown undertones that the other two grays did. I just realized I left my brush I was using on my purple here sitting in my water cup, which is real bad for those bristles. So we're going to just rinse it off real quick. Bring those bristles back to a good point. Say we're real sorry, and then we'll go back to doing what we were doing. All right. Get our light gray on the brush. And you'll notice, maybe you won't, that I am not at all like washing or rinsing my brush in between colors here. That's very much intentional. One, as I mentioned before, this is called dry brushing, so we want a dry brush in order to do it. If I were to wash my brush, I would then have to wait until it was dry, and I do not want to do that because I'm impatient. Also, the little bits of the other colors that are left behind from the previous step sort of help blend everything together too. So, all right, so we're gonna lightly dust across the top because that's going to be up top and it's going to get sort of even light coverage. And then everything else just goes straight down. Once again, this picks out all of the top edges, or the, sorry, not the top edges, the upward facing edges, where light would catch naturally as it's coming from the sky and aiming down at the ground. So the underneath of all of these, that would be in shadow. That shadow is sort of picked out just a little bit more as a result. All right, that one's done. Let's do just a little bit more paint on this thing, even though I think it might be overkill. We're here to get this done. Welcome back. All right, and I just love the way that this paint works out like this. This last touch here is just kind of doing the all over on the top and then just all the upward facing stuff by just brushing down over the rest of the model. Really just kind of sells it for me, because again it hits all the right spots where the light would catch on its way down, and it just leaves nice shadows and recesses where it should be, ups the contrast on the whole thing, and really just kind of pops out the features. Can't say enough good things about it, really. And especially for like terrain like this, where you can use a big brush and just fly through. Like I had 3 of these arches that needed to be done, and I think it's been maybe 20 minutes, and I've gotten them all pretty much to the point where they're done now, which as far as I'm concerned is a huge win, because then that moves another large thing off of my hobby desk, and it makes room for another project at some point soon to after. All right, so I'm going to call that done on all 3 of the grays. We're just going to soak the tip of that brush, and then try and work out some of that gray. Oh, there it is. I don't know what's so satisfying. You know, if you're ever making coffee and you pour, like, I personally take my coffee black. My wife likes cream in her coffee, or almond milk, or something along those lines. Kind of depends. It changes over time. But that really interesting, satisfying feeling you get when you see the cream rise to the surface for the first time. You know, you're pouring it in, and then like that cloud billows up to the top. It's kind of what the rinse water looks like when you put a new brush in there. It's kind of nice. The dry brush paints, yeah, they are. They certainly can be really good. I have some, and I have used some. I let's see. I feel like it's a bit of a misnomer, because really you can dry brush with any of their paints. There's nothing like, it's basically that mix of the paint is just a little bit drier. Like, well, it's a lot drier. It doesn't have much moisture in it. But I feel like, I don't know, in a way it's almost superfluous. Like, you just don't. I feel like they just made that range for the sake of making that range to try and make more money, I guess, is really what I'm getting at. But this dry brush is going to need some cleaning again. But I just cleaned this thing back to like brand new bristle condition, and again I'm going to have to go through that whole process again and scrub the crap out of this thing, because it does not like to let go of the paint after. And part of the problem is, again, that was like 20 minutes of straight dry brushing, and I didn't rinse my brush once. So like, it's to be expected that that paint just kind of dries on some of those bristles. So I'm mean to this brush, considering how much I actually like it. But I managed to clean it once before, so I'm pretty confident I can do it again. For now, we're just getting it wet, trying to get that paint out of there. Or at least the stuff that's still wet, we're trying to get out of there. Anything that's dry, I'll clean out later. All right. So it is 11 o'clock, which means it is time for this stream to end. That being said, it is only fitting that I show off the stuff that I just finished doing. So these are, let's see if we can get a little bit more lighting on these for a second. Turn up the brightness on that. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So there's the first one. You know, it's not bad. Looks good. You can see the pits and the definition and the cracks and all that. And then here's the one with the larger horn skull on the top. Again, looks pretty good. And lastly, the other one of these guys. So there's 2 of these, and then one with the big horn skull. But they're all done. That's all she wrote. So yeah, and then beyond that, I now have 4 more of these horses that have the let's see, can we, That doesn't really help as much as I thought it was going to. But the purple on all of the cloth is done on 4 more of these, so that means I have 1 more in that batch that I have to do. Once that one's done, then I can work on, highlighting up the robes. I have to do the underside of the robes black. Um, and then it's on to the riders. So that'll probably start, I don't know, at some point. Um, but my plan for the rest of the weekend and going into next week, probably tonight after I turn the stream off, I'm going to put any last finishing touches on these archways, and get those just done and out of the way, and put those over on the done shelf. And then got to wash off that commission piece and get that ready for painting. Tomorrow I'll get that primed up and ready. Might slap some paint on it. But we're switching over into that commission mode. I have that, and then I have 2 other models that I need to get. No, sorry, 3 other major models that I need to get done for other people. One for Jason here in the chat. I have one for my buddy Joe and one for my brother. So all of those need to get done at some point in the near future. So that's kind of where I'm going to shift my focus to, because realistically, I will always have my stuff, so I can work on it at any time. And that's it. So, like I said, time's up on the stream here. So I appreciate everybody stopping by and saying hi and hanging out. I appreciate all the activity in the chat, giving me stuff to talk about and people to talk to. It's been great. I've had a lot of fun, and I hope you have as well. I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and I will see you next Friday, 9 p.m. I'll go ahead when this posts up to YouTube. I will go ahead and have links in the description to all of my socials. So, Facebook, which a lot of you already have me on, but Instagram will be there, and Twitter and all that jazz. I highly recommend and encourage you all to head over to the YouTube channel. Give that a like, give it a subscribe, give the video a like, hit the little bell icon so you get further notifications. So when I start posting any of the other 2 series that I plan to do, you'll get notified when that stuff goes up. And of course, when I go live on Fridays, you'll also get a notification. So again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming and spending some time with me. And we'll see you next week. So until then, take care and be well.